okay. I don't remember to have this done. Oh, so that one. Alright, let's get to work. Hey Alex. Hope you're doing well. How many chapters of Volume 1 of Black Circus will have? 3. There will be 3 of them. Chapter 2 will be pretty long because Chapter 1 got cut short because I decided to change art styles. But yeah, 3 is the goal. But 2, in this case, will have a lot more pages than it would normally. Because usually my range is like 75 to maybe like 120 pages. But in this particular case, because I cut chapter 1 so short, it's going to have a lot more pages than usual. It's 5 a.m. There's no fucking sun. It's so hot. Yeah, that's how it gets over here too. I cannot wait for winter. I'd rather freeze and warm up with a blanket. Alright, since this is on Twitch, I'm going to have to be very careful on what I decide to fully draw. Or at least what I decide shows up on this page. Nothing crazy is going to happen on this page anyway, but still have to be mindful of that. Screw Tim, he deserves to be digested. I'm pretty sure Joanne will agree. She doesn't seem to be in the saving mood at the moment. Alright, let's get this underway. Probably did not have to do that. Well, she was all for helping him until she found out what he does. Like, even after he drugged her, she was still willing to help him until that point. Until she realized that this has been a constant thing. Well, she technically well, he does tell her that she was drugged, but she might not have remembered that part because she was under the influence. So she was likely acting on her not remembering that he said that. But then once Red tells her everything, now she's like, oh, I'm gonna go into bitch mode right now. But the next Black Circus page is gonna be fun. So I'm looking forward to working on that one after I'm done with this page for IHAT. Honestly, the only thing hard about these coming IHAT pages at the moment are Bobby's spots. I thought I saw something show up on my thing for a moment there. No, it's trippy. But yeah, right now she's like, fuck him. What do I need to do? Like, let's put an end to this. Yeah, this is an IHAT page. If I were to work, well, I think I can work on Black Circus on Twitch. At least the next page of it. But I have to pick. You know what I have to do. I have to be careful on which pages I do because, unfortunately, Twitch is a little pissy about what can and can't show up on screen. So unless they had a mature mode, which would solve a lot of fucking problems. Same thing for YouTube. Well, YouTube already has their policies that it's okay to draw that stuff as long as you're not going any further than that. But Twitch, on the other hand, I don't believe has that room. I'll have to like relook at their terms again just to be sure, but I don't believe certain things can be shown. Actually, no, I can't draw Black Circus on Twitch because currently Joanne has cum on her face. So yeah, can't do that. She did attempt to wipe some of it off because there's less on her face than when she, but then before she ate Tim. So she must have wiped some of it off of her, but she wasn't like paying attention because she was all in a haze. But yeah. What was my inspiration for Skylar? Honestly, the only inspiration I really had for him was just make a character that was just kind of bland. Well, I made him a dragon just because I like dragons, but his name comes from just trying to be a basic character. Because the whole point of IHAT is that it's supposed to be filled with characters that aren't necessarily important. And that was like the point. Because they're all technically background characters for another series. So, just had a cat character and a dragon, tried to be as basic as fuck. The cum is an embellishment, though. You could. True. I could draw the page without putting the cum on her face, because usually that's a extra detail that I do at the very end, or towards the very end. So yeah, I just have to be careful on what I draw on streams, because like, you know, obviously I can't draw fully rendered nudity. Like, I can draw the boobs and not add the nips type of thing if it's a woman, although if it's a guy, for some, you know, nips are allowed, but that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, just have to be wary of what I draw on stream. And if it gets too risque, then I'll definitely just go to Picardo, which I need to use Picardo more often, because there's no point in me saving videos on there if I'm not going to use it. But Picardo is definitely for when I want to draw risque stuff. It's like, alright, I'm in a risque mood, we're going to draw Jam's ass, or Plum's ass, or Plum's dick, whatever. Yeah, all I can draw is the shape of the booba, I cannot draw the rest of it. Because the shape can be like whatever, because I could be, you know, getting ready to put them in a shirt or something. But definitely can't go further than that. And with YouTube, they're okay with like the nips and all that, you just can't draw like cum and them having sex type of thing. So YouTube's slightly better in that aspect. Which, again, I need to experiment with streaming on YouTube, so I definitely want to put that into motion soon. Because I might like just divide streams amongst different days. So like, I don't know. Like, let's just say if I get the time to stream more often, I can say like Mondays and Fridays is YouTube, and then Tuesday through Thursday is Twitch, and then Saturday is Picardo. So once I have the free time to do that, then can give it a shot. Heavyweight Dragon Fruit. That would be funny. Although the character I have planned is definitely not a gypsy, but it could be just Joanne misinterpreting the character as a gypsy, so that could be a thing. Or I could just make a gypsy character, whatever. Not like I can't just make a character to fit that role, or even use a character I already own, or already made, or both own and made, because, you know, I do own a few adopts. Air quotes on few. So yeah, like there really isn't a bad idea. It's just a matter of who gets the idea. Who gets the idea, and what is the idea fit for? Because like obviously I can't use everything for everybody. So stuff like, you know, oh, this character should be the sumo. It's like, well, that's not gonna happen for this character, but it might happen for another. That's why I'm sometimes reserved on answering certain questions, because it's like it might be something that becomes a thing. But I should also be okay with just saying whatever, because, you know, until I actually draw it or put it in a bio or something, nothing is 100% concrete. Because like right now it could just be like, oh, Bobby, Skylar, and Emerald get into a threesome. But I could just be, you know, just rambling until I actually, and so unless I actually draw it, it's just whatever hearsay at this point, or not hearsay, but just me talking. Because again, that's not even like a bad idea. It's like, I mean, I could see that happening, but whether or not I actually go through with it is a whole other thing. Right now, the idea I have is a bit awkward, so just have to see how I go about it. And I need to put your other bunny ear thing, so there we go. Did I draw your ear on the other frame? Or is it too low? Nah. I do need to do it like this, though. But yeah, because like, whatever idea I come up with, it could either be adjusted, tweaked, changed, because I might think of something better. Like with Caitlin's friends, the original idea before yesterday's stream, where I just started rambling and then slowly got convinced into a better idea, was that I was gonna have her friends just be assholes to her. Just be all, you know, Valley Girls stuck up nonsense. But as we started talking yesterday, I was like, oh no, this is better. Have her friends be supportive and all that. Have them all be in the whole, like, goddammit, we're this age and we're single still type of mentality. And then some asshole makes fun of Caitlyn, and her friends reassure her, go like, nah, don't listen to that jerk, he's just being a dick or whatever. But, you know, Caitlyn takes it to heart, and that's what gets her motivated to take the collar. So see, sometimes me just having discussions with you guys or friends just pushes me into a better idea. Because like even for IHAT 1, there was like several different versions of that I could have went with. Because originally Blake was gonna be a goth chick that had vampire fangs for fun, and she liked to set places on fire, but then that definitely changed. Like, she is nowhere near that. For the Q&A, a character can have an option on topic without committing to it. Yeah. Like I can, like, depending on the questions and stuff like that, like I can have a character like respond that they wouldn't do something, or that they're not aware that they did something in a particular way, and then you know, go off of that, like have like a character fill in the gaps, or have like a hypothetical situation, or like I can do that for fun and make a situation either semi-canon or just not canon, and just draw it for fun. But yeah, I definitely have to keep things clear on what a character is actually willing to do, or is willing to be in that particular situation. Arson Bunny would have been fun. Yeah, I can save an arson character for another situation. Trust me, I got plenty of fire-based characters to work with. Sinclair Mansion in Flames. Yeah, because that was going to be like one storyline for Blake at the time, where she set her home on fire, and that's why she has some of her scars. But that slowly got changed over time. Because I think in the first comic, or the second comic, it's still mentioned that she set something on fire, but then it's like very clear that that's not the case. Let me take a look real quick. I'm pretty sure it was issue 2. Yeah. Blake. Blah blah blah. Blah. Yeah. She tried to burn down her house once. Yeah. So Marcy just makes a remark that that's what she was told, but it's clear that it's a whole different scenario. So Marcy likely just kind of noticed that that's not the case and just kind of went with it because Blake just wasn't ready to tell her. Which he still wasn't, because the most Blake ever tells Marcy about herself really is the scene where she tells Marcy that she's adopted. And she talks about her siblings briefly. Yeah. That was mostly because Blake was being adjusted at that point, because I didn't plan for her to have such a big background, because she was going to just be a throwaway character. But then once I started drawing her, and I think it was like after those pages, that's when I gave her backstory, or that's when I gave the original IHAT story backstory to or IHAT character's backstory to Blake a bit, like some bits and pieces, not everything. And so Blake kind of like shifted gears on that point. That's why you, when you see her smoking in the first few pages, she doesn't smoke ever again. I might go back to her smoking like when she's out on her own, since she ran away. I might show her doing that again just to kind of get some relief from whatever situation she ends up getting into. But that's why that went away for a good while. Because her character was being altered and shifted around. They don't care about you, Blake. Bernard Halton. But yeah, I can definitely give that narrative to another character, and that character can also be a bunny too, just to keep up the whole fire bunny theme or idea. But yeah, definitely was a scrapped idea for her. And then there was like several scrapped ideas for Marcy and Skylar, because originally the story wasn't going to be as deep as it ended up being. So there was like a couple of storylines I had thought of, because originally each chapter was going to be one day, so the entire IHAT 1 storyline was going to be taking place within a week. But then that quickly changed. Well, it still takes place during a week, but I just didn't show like every day happening. Strung out bunny girl running a discount electronics store with a secret artisan streak. Hello, Zen. But yeah, like, I can give that idea to another character, because Blake is a lot more fleshed out now with what she currently has going on. So save that idea for someone else. But yeah, that tends to happen when I'm talking to either you guys or friends, or other friends and all that, because it's like, once I start rambling about, whatever it is I'm working on and stuff like that, that's when I start thinking like, oh, what if I did this? And like, oh, this sounds a lot better than the original idea. And then I also want to do stuff that's a little out of the box too, and not just like, you know, something too basic, at least by my standards of basic. Yeah. Like, the original story wasn't bad either, or it wasn't bad. It was just, once I decided to shift things over to World Gates' universe, that's when I knew that I had to change things around and retcon certain ideas because they were not going to fit in that kind of structure. Such as Daylock. Like, Daylock was mostly the one that had to be changed. That interaction had to be changed because if I were to go off of how she would act normally, she would just not give a shit about Skylar almost being killed. There would be no reason for her to even appear in front of him. So that had to be changed. Yeah, the only reason why I changed the original story's epilogue by putting in Philip was just to make it mostly just to make it different from True Ending, because True Ending and Neutral were way too similar. In terms of their conclusions. So just to change things up, I just made it so that Marcy and Skylar in that timeline just didn't work out. That's why True Ending kind of piggybacks on Neutral a bit. That's why True Ending starts at chapter 4, because whatever I needed from the first 3 chapters still fit, and I didn't feel like going back and changing everything just to accommodate for True Ending. Some stuff I did change because it was going to be part of the different timeline, or be part of World Gates' universe, so whatever cameos and stuff had to be altered. I still kept those pages on Dropbox though, because I didn't want to just, you know, get rid of them. But yeah, a lot of ideas are more likely to appear for other characters. Just like the Volume 0 idea that I'll someday do. Oh yeah, there's I'm pretty sure it's in the special edition. There's concept art of one of the characters for Volume 0. It's the girl with the toast in her mouth. Let me check just to make sure. Volumes, special. Where are you? Yeah, I see her. Yeah. She's just a girl playing the video game on the computer. Because she was supposed to be the original character for the first IHAT, but then Marcy and Skylar took her spot. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just call that volume 0 because other volumes have already been planned out. So I'm just gonna call her 0. So she'll probably get worked on once I'm done with everybody else. They took her job. Yep. Because like I was all set for that story, and then I read Hetty, and then I was like, no, no, that's bullshit. I want to read more Hetty, and then here I am. Like I think I was like a day or two ready to draw that comic, and then I read Hetty. And since I couldn't read any more of Hetty, I mean, I had a spite. Or I should say I made Marcy and Skylar out of spite. And luckily, because I did retcon IHAT into true ending and all that, Tiffany got to be revived. So there was a plus there. Roy as well. shown his hands. Let me find his artwork. Kind of drew his hands a little more nubbier than this. Let me see how I have them here. Yeah, they're a little bit more. Should be okay, but I do look a little shorter in his artwork. There is normal artwork. So let's just shorten these a bit. Actually, I might have to do that individually. Kind of made them too long on the previous page, but that's okay. Yeah, her storyline. That's gonna be a fun time. That's gonna be a great time. People got some hint of how her storyline's gonna go through Ask the Cast, but yeah, that's gonna be a fun time. Yeah, and that's that's kind of the point well, not really a point, is just like that's the idea I'm having, or I have, is that not every character has is just, you know, 100% happy, or it's just, you know, smooth sailings from start to finish. But at the same time, I can lighten up a bit and just have like someone have a good time and not make it like horrifying or depressing. So once I do, well, Caitlin's story isn't exactly depressing. It's more uplifting towards the end, but still a little bashing a bit on her. But I can definitely do something a little bit more lighthearted next time. But the idea is just, you know, these are just a bunch of people in their regular lives and all that. They're not special characters or anything. Like, they don't really have like world-ending backstories or like they don't like save the world or anything like that. And so the idea is just, you know, here's their lives. Some a little bit more interesting than others, but other than that, you know, here's some of the bullshit they go through, such as Joanne. She's like a struggling actress, and now she's going through the shit that she's going through. And like from Marcy's point of view, her background is pretty basic as fuck until she interacts with Skylar, and Skylar is only like mildly more interesting just because of his abilities. Drunk, ugly, crying moment. Why does God hate me? Well, if any of my if I ever find out any of my characters become real based on the stuff I've drawn, I'm just gonna sit down with each of them individually at some point and just give them a hug and be like, look, it's not like that. I know Becky would fucking kick my ass if she was real. But yeah, it's like, no, I don't hate you. This is just an interesting story. And to be honest, working on comics has made me wonder about that. Like, if God existed, is this how it is? God is just making random ass fucking stories for each of us and some of them are more interesting than others, and some of them are just fucking depressing. It's like, oof, you don't want to have that kind of existential crisis. Yeah, like the random shit shot here in the background. Yeah, like there was a Marvel story about basically the background characters, like the shit that they have to do after superheroes have their little fights and stuff. It's like, well, we gotta, you know, fix the city. Here's all this construction and stuff. And like in there was a Wolverine comic where basically a bunch of those type of people wanted revenge against Wolverine because Wolverine's fights in particular caused a lot of damage, and some people died because of it. Like I think one of them was a man lost his wife because she was trying to, or she was pregnant, and she was trying to make it to the hospital. But I think it was the Hulk and Wolverine were having a fight on like the freeway or something like that, and because they were having this fight, the freeway was closed, and she wasn't able to make it to the hospital, and she ended up dying during childbirth. And I think the child also didn't make it. So shit like that happens, and that's like another reason why of how I'm thinking of these characters. Yeah, and I think like there was like in the Wolverine comic there was like a kid who was also part of the group, because basically it was just a group completely dedicated to making sure Wolverine's life was miserable, and one of them was a kid, and the kid explained, because like basically Wolverine ends up going to like this facility. In the facility he's like fighting all these like superpowered characters, and during this time he's like you're like getting all this information on these normal people, and you find out all the shit that went on. And so one of them is a kid, and the kid explains that his mother was one of the guards that worked at the Weapon X program that Wolverine was a part of, and she was one of the guards that Wolverine like randomly killed. And so the kid you know had nobody to take care of him, all he was basically orphaned because of that. And so so like once Wolverine makes it to like the main like headquarters or whatever for this group, he gets all this information, and then he finds out that all the super powered characters that he was fighting to get to that room that were hired to kill him, he finds out all of them were his illegitimate children that he wasn't aware of. And basically Wolverine just essentially found out he killed his own kids. And so once he finds that all that out, the X-Men show up to help Wolverine or pick him up or whatever, and he just straight up goes up to them and says, "I quit," and he just leaves. Like Wolverine was just done after learning all that. It's slightly different for these characters where their fates are directly shaped by a conscious decision. I mean, we don't know if our fates are being shaped by a conscious decision. We'll never know this information, or maybe we will when the time comes. Who knows? But it's just one of those things that made me think about it once I started working on comics. I was just like, I wonder if this is how life actually is like. Like we'll never actually know the answer to this, but it just makes you wonder. It's like, is my life just like a pre-scripted scenario? I mean, if it is, I mean, it's not like there's much I can do about it, even if it is, but it just makes you wonder. But oh yeah, obviously these comic characters. But then it also makes you wonder that if the multiverse theory exists, would that mean that there's a universe where all my characters exist? And then if we want to go deeper than that, it's like, what if everything I'm doing is exactly what happens in that universe? Or if you want to go deeper than that, what if everything I'm drawing is just me channeling it from that universe? Or another universe like it? So yeah, I mean, I can infinitely go on with whatever theory I can have about this. Mostly it's just fun to think about. It's not like trying to like find out if anything I do matters because it's already predetermined or anything like that. No, I'm not worried about any of that nonsense. Because you're just gonna drive yourself crazy if you're fixated on that. I just have fun playing around with the idea. But and plus, if they do exist, and I'm just waiting for one of them to find out how to find me, and then I'm like, oh great, now I gotta deal with this. You know, Becky's fat ass will fucking find me. It'd be even more funny if every time I've called her a fat ass, it just makes it easier for her to find me. She's like, alright, this direction. I'm like, shit! Honestly, if it was true that they existed, I would be 100% for meeting them in physical form. What artist would not want that? Assuming they don't get killed by their own creations, because you definitely don't want that scenario happening. What do I have in mind for October? Oh yeah, Jesus fuck. I still need to do something for Wargates because of the anniversary. God damn it. There's so much to do, so little time. I'll have to think of something to do for the anniversary. And then, other than that, just working on what I usually work on, and then dressing up for Halloween. I'm already invited to a Halloween party, so that'll be fun to dress up in costumes that I have prepared. Yeah. It's just one of those things where the characters can sit there and question, you know, how come their lives aren't as easygoing or something. And then at that point it just boils down to them just learning more about themselves, or, you know, whatever string pulling that I decide to do. But Stacy also can reflect on the fact that, you know, she does have a boyfriend or husband by that point in time, whichever way it goes. And then Tiffany, she has to deal with surviving. So Tiffany's storyline is going to be interesting to draw. I could see Stacy trying to get into like AI programming, and then like her and Talon like make like a child through AI development or something, or they have to like get registered to be able to legally create a child through that kind of process, because there has to be laws with the whole machine race thing. And then there's Marcy Amber's storyline that I'd like to do. There's a ton of characters. I'll literally have more stories I'd like to draw than I do time. So if I ever find a way of becoming immortal, that'd be a fucking blessing. I was like, oh cool, I'm immortal. Cool, I can draw until the end of time. So, if that day comes, awesome. No, I shouldn't say if, I should say when that day comes, awesome. Yeah, exactly, the whole, because that's like one of the things that the Makana have to worry about. They have to worry about how they're able to reproduce as a legal species. And then they also have to like have restrictions on how they learn, because if they were to learn normally, like, you know, just regular robot shit, then they would just learn everything immediately. And then depending on how they're designed and all that, they could potentially be better than organic people. And then that'll be a whole fucking, like, issue with, you know, jobs and stuff like that. So, in order to make that balanced, it's like you have to restrict their intelligence to make them, to allow them to act more, for lack of a better term, human, I guess would be the word for it. I mean, even though we're in a world of animal people still. But yeah, it's like, there would just be a ton of restrictions just to make it work. And so they have to be heavily restricted on their learning. That's why Talon has a problem figuring out metaphors and stuff like that, which can be funny in Stacy's case. Here right now I'm drawing the boys agreeing that Emerald can watch them play their game, even though they're still going to be a little bit hesitant when they get to certain parts of the game that they're aware of. Because basically in the game they want to get to a particular ending that they haven't seen. They only know about it through the strategy guide that they brought with them, that Bobby brought. And so they want to see it, and Emerald's there, and they don't know what's going to happen. So it's going to be really, really, really fun. So I'm looking forward to getting to that, which will be in like the next few pages or so. Like, I want to say probably the next 5 pages. But right now I have to explain one other thing before moving on to that. So this page will be used to explain it. But yeah, this page is just to explain why there's a crate in Andy's room, or Andy's house, or apartment. Because that's the box that Emerald came in. Yeah, like I could see Makana treating that as a very, very, very special thing, because they don't get to do that very often. And then, especially with the union between a Makana and like an organic or like another species, that's a whole other thing too. Because like if I were to draw like the early days of Makanas being a thing, can totally see them like being discriminated, and then seeing like people who are into that race being like, oh, you guys are like technophiles or whatever you want to call it. Or you could see like crazy people going like, oh, you guys don't like reproduction. You're like, what are you talking about? It's like, you can't have children with robots, and blah 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 blah. I mean, the Bestials already went through that bullshit, so. And then the Ferrokeen are still going through that bullshit. It's like, at the end of the day, you're just gonna have some random guy going like, everybody's racist. It's like, Jesus. Maybe a spiritual learning on how they choose to elevate themselves over me. Yeah. Because you can definitely see the Makana having like a bit of an issue with like normal robots, such as the Catherines, because they're all just androids, or just, you know, regular working machines or robots and all that. Because like Coco, for example, she's not a Makana. She has no free will. So she'll be definitely an interesting character to explore more. Because she just does as she's told by whoever is authorized to use her. And then technically she's illegal because she's doing a bunch of shady stuff with her owner. So potentially she could gain free will if she was able to access whatever illegal program that allow her to do so. And whether or not that causes problems is up in the air. She's been chipped. Yeah, she has a few illegal stuff installed in her. But yeah, like, and that's like another thing. That's like, are the Makana like tracked? Like, do they all have like tracking chips to make sure, you know, none of them are doing something illegal? And then, like, if they are chipped, then are there Makana that like get their chips temporarily deactivated, or, you know, get like fake ones and stuff like that? Like, oh, I'm gonna go to this shady cult place or whatever, but I don't want, you know, the government or whatever to know what I've been doing, so I'm gonna get like my signal jammed or signal altered or something like that, like data records changed. So like that's like a whole thing. Like goddamn replicants. Exactly. It's like there's like a whole thing to explore when it comes to characters like that. And then, like, not only do we have the Makana to think about, we also have like characters that are from space to think about. So, you know, like actual aliens and whatever races that they are. So that's like its own thing. And then you have like towns and cities that exist underwater. So you have like, you know, ocean regions and stuff like that to think about. It's like, oh, I want a relationship with this squid woman or something. But it could be a situation where it's like, oh, she can only survive in the ocean, so how is this person gonna go and live there? And that's like a whole thing. It's like, oh, do we think about genetic stuff, like altering one's genes in order to survive in water, and whatever complications that comes with. Yeah, exactly. Like the Makana could easily fall into the whole religions being a way of being a form of control type of thing, which they could be. Or, I mean, to be fair, it's obvious that they have been in history. So yeah, like the Makana could easily be falling for the same exact route that normal people went through, and you're basically just seeing history happen or the past happening in modern time, or reenactment of a new religion, or you're basically just seeing the start of a religion going through the motions. So yeah, there's so much to go through when it comes to that stuff. And then we have the Ferricane, where they have to deal with, you know, themselves being handicapped because of their physical limitations. Whatever limited jobs they can get based on those limitations. Them being discriminated against, them being compared to actual animals, which they are not, which Joanne has verbally expressed many times that she is not a feral. Like, if Joanne had looked at E621, she would get pissed off because it has her labeled as a feral. She'd be like, who the hell made this site? How did they not know the difference? Because, like, even Bobby is labeled as a Ferricane. Because he's not a bestial. But yeah, Ferricanes have to go through bullshit as well, so... Yeah, you can watch us play. And then there's all the crossbreeding stuff with the amalgamates. And then Becky's weird hybrid ass. But she's like a very, very, very rare case. Like, the odds of her being a thing again is extremely low. It's not 100% no, but it's definitely like a 99.9% of chance of that not happening. Yes, Becky was definitely that 0.1%. Or 0.01. 0.1, whatever. I think it's 0.1, yeah. That's what I meant. But yeah. So, yeah, I have more than enough things to work with in terms of story. If your head is spinning, welcome to my world, shit. I'm the one that has to work it out. But I do not blame you. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting to think that as a creator, you could have a little utopia for all these characters, but with misfortune, tragedy, strife, there's no story to tell, in which case they wouldn't exist at all. Yeah, it's because, like, you can have a utopia, but if there's no conflict, then what's the whole point of it to be there? Like, I could probably make a story based off of a utopia and just see what happens. And it would just be people just living through their lives and it's just normal. Maybe they, like, invent something and or discover something, but that's kind of it. And the only actual conflict would either be something that they accidentally make somehow, or an outside force comes and ruins it for them. That's kind of it. Like, that's the only real way of having a conflict for a situation like that. Yeah, it's like you have to have the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unknown, or the gray areas. Because you have to have good, bad, neutral, and chaotic, I guess, to be the best way to put that, the fourth one. Because there's really no other way to go about it unless you just straight up want nothing bad to happen. Which, there's nothing wrong with stories like that, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, it just becomes boring and uninteresting. Because I've had people in the past talk to me about, you know, why does bad things have to happen to like Tiffany or Blake and all that, and I'm just like, that's because that's their lives and all that. And it's like, well, why can't it be like blah blah blah? And like sometimes they'll send me like their ideas of like fan stories of like, oh, they like, most of the time it's they insert themselves into those characters' stories to try to make them have like a good life and all that. And I'm just like, it's not interesting though. You're basically removing all of the, you're basically being a Deus Ex Machina and just removing all the problems. And it's just like, okay, they're happy, now what? There's no problems now. They don't have to do anything because your character is just going to be there to save them or whatever. So what's the conflict? What's the reason why this story exists? And we're just going off of like stories. If we're going like actual existence, that's a whole other can of worms to go about. But yeah, like I've had someone say like, you know, they just don't want the characters to suffer. I'm just like, well, I mean, that's life. Shit happens. You can't just toss in an answer for every single thing that happens. Something to keep in mind if you get some anime haven teenagers. Getting uppity with wanting to challenge God. Oh yeah, definitely. It's like, we're gonna go fight God, and I was like, and I'm just gonna be like, bring it on. That'd be kind of funny. That would be definitely be interesting, where somehow my characters find themselves going through all this nonsense, and then it takes them to like some fucking cosmic dimension, and my character or myself as a character is there. They basically fight God. Yeah, I can totally see that scenario happen. Well, technically that does happen for World Gates 1, Volume 1. That's technically a thing. Which, again, I need to decide how I'm doing World Gates now, because I really want to just straight up restart it and start with Violeton's storyline, because that's the one where a bunch of shit happens. But I'm also content in just continuing the current one, because that also leads into shit. I don't know, I might just fucking put it on the fucking wheel and just spin it. Be like, alright, whoever gets the first, I don't know, 10 points, that's the decision I'm going with. I might just leave it up to chance. Why not? It's worked out for our little fun times with our Wheel of Fortunes. But yeah, that's definitely a thing that will happen, is where they fight God. Or at least a god. Which is also funny because Viro is in that group. So that would be a fun time. But yes, I've been sitting on a lot of ideas for years, so it's just a matter of drawing them all. Which I know I will end up with more ideas as I go along. So literally I'm stuck here forever. Viro eating a sandwich, say what? Yeah, exactly. You're like, what? I get to fight God? Yeah. I mean, that's like one of his big motivations in the storyline anyway, because he's aware that fate is controlled by me, and he doesn't want a certain character to die. And he basically prevents that character's death by like changing their form. But he's still like pissed off that that was a thing to begin with. So he's trying to like find a way to get to me to make me like change things or whatever. So yeah, that's a whole fucking side story. But yeah, sitting on that idea for God knows how long. I think I drew a story of that like at one point, or a picture of that at one point. It was either that or it was him fighting Violeton. But yeah, lots of thinking, lots of things to think about. And then like I have all those going on. Then there's Buckled, and then there's Creamfilled, and then there's like all the other stories I want to do, like Becky's storyline. Becky's is gonna be depressing. There's no way around that one. But yeah, I try to treat the characters in a more realistic sense and sense based on how they live in their world. So it's like, okay, we live in a world with superpowers and shit. How do we, live? And then it's just a balancing of then it's just a balancing of how the special abilities and all that come about. Like, are they broken? Are there weaknesses? Is there a balance to it? Can everybody do it? Type of thing. That's why I have the ranking system on the bios, because it's supposed to basically tell you if they're capable of destroying the world. And for the most part, anything that's below a C, or that's C or below, is like not really anything to worry about. B is like, okay, we're looking in your direction, and then A is like, okay, we gotta deal with this, and then S is like, oh shit, we're fucked. What do we do? And then X is just like, all right, I surrender. Okay, finally drew this page. Just an indication that Andy has his hand around his head, or his arm around the back of his head. I think this is fine as is. I want this to show. Yeah, like I definitely need to draw the government characters, like the characters that control the political stuff in society and all that. Like President Velma is one of them, and then there's like the different regions and stuff like that. There's at least one for every race, so that way they have like their own little United Nations whole thing. And of course you have the Havens, who kind of have their own thoughts on the scenario. I have not saved this entire time. You have the Havens, the whole position on this thing is like, we were here first type of scenario. And the other characters, the other races can be like, yeah, look how that went. It's like, congratulations, you guys tried to fight God and then you fucked up. Yeah, because like certain races, like the Makana might have that problem where it's like, okay, are we allowed to travel elsewhere? And they could probably get like a license, or like be authorized to be able to do so under special conditions or something. Same thing for the alien races and all that. And then there's, like, what was I gonna say? It was in my mind for a moment. Oh yeah, and then you have, like, you know, the supernatural creatures that they got to deal with, like vampires and werewolves and, you know, the Gadian, the, like, celestial stuff. And the only reason why some of that is aimed on their planet in particular is just because of story reasons. Other than that, like, the main Celestials, like, you know, like Yorjadoth and Daylok and all that, they don't normally give a shit about Earth. Or Utopia, whatever you want to call the planet. Because their jobs are all over the universe, not just focused on one fucking planet. So whatever it is you guys they're doing on the planet is like, yeah, you guys might want to stop that because you guys are fucking up your own fucking planet. Okay, I need to look to see where the hell this box is in space. Andy, where is this box? Okay, it's pretty much beside your bed. We wanted to go extreme, simple, suburban lives of people with that. Yeah, because like a lot of the characters kind of like worry about their own shit. There really isn't like too many characters who are worried about everything outside of this. Like Marcy's never gonna worry about Gadians showing up unless for whatever fucking story narrative reason they become relevant to her life. So for the most part, she's just gonna go through her days not really worrying about it. Like, she might hear about something going on in like the major cities or like the major areas that have to deal with this problem, but realistically she'll never have to worry about this. And even if she did have to worry about it, she would, you know, she would follow whatever procedure is made for situations like that. You know, she'd take her family to a shelter or something. And like, if I really wanted to, I could probably show Skylar beating the shit out of some creatures, but that's kind of it. But yeah, in terms of like the actual storylines, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is probably not even gonna show up unless I'm like heavily focused on something specific. And then a lot of this information is probably gonna be more lore dumps that I'm gonna make. So like, once I go through a more another rundown of like species and stuff, then we'll cover that. It's like, oh, here's Makana, it's a machine race of artificial intelligence, and blah 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 blah. They have to go through this nonsense. And then there's like some of the underground shit to worry about, like, okay, here are people who are transferring your consciousness into mechanical bodies. How do we classify them? Are they Makana or are they something else? Are they just cyborgs? Because there's already the modded people where they give themselves mechanical enhancements and stuff, or do it as a fashion fad. Because Venus is one of those types of characters. And the process is expensive and sometimes illegal, depending on the locations. Just like being naked is a area-based thing in their world. So like, Fairy King can get away with being naked for the most part, but you'll have like areas that are being like super anal about it, and so in some cases there are clothing for Fairy Kings in order to cover up because of those areas. Yeah. Like, Crystal is definitely dealing with stuff that Marcy would never interact with. Because, like, I could have a storyline of Crystal dealing with one of the Gadians or Avocs and stuff like that. It's like, alright, we have Gluttony running around this area. We need to put a stop to, or we need to, you know, capture, secure, or whatever. Or there was one storyline I wanted to do where Wrath shows up, and Wrath is basically just like humanoid-looking Gadian creature that's like, it only shows up once every it shows up every 3 months, and it's like constantly running towards a very specific city, or a part of Heaven City, and they basically have to hold it off for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then it decides to just leave and come back in another 3 months. And they have no way of capturing it at the moment, and no way of killing it. Yeah, like, I would definitely have Crystal's team show up in World Gates at some point as like another faction or like a group to help the situation. It's like, oh, who are they? And it's like, oh, these are some mercenaries we hired. And like, you would easily, and that's like kind of the other point of why IHAT is a thing, because it's like, here's a bunch of characters that don't really have too big of a focus, but if you do see them in like other stories, it kind of gives you a sense of accomplishment that you know who those characters are. So if you see Crystal show up, you'd be like, oh shit, I know who that is. That's kind of the sense of accomplishment for following along the storyline that I kind of want to give. But that's why I want to make IHAT Archives or Worldgate Archives, whatever name I'm going to give it, because that will help focus on characters that don't have a big story, but at least have like some form of character development that I would feel is, you know, something to know. And then that could be, you know, put into, like, for example, Crystal could have her own short comic, and it could just be either how she met Martin or just her going off on one of her missions while telling her family that she's going to visit her mother or something. Whereas Secrets is just more kink stuff, where it's just like, nah, this is really not important. So here's some dumb fun. Here you go. And that's why it's in the higher tier on Patreon and all that, because it's literally not important. Alright, Emerald, you're gonna be another pain in my ass for a while. Honestly, if there was anything I would love to eradicate, it would be coloring. Coloring takes so much damn time, but I have to. But yeah, like, definitely characters from IHAT will be appearing in World Gates. I just need to do more with World Gates, but I've been so heavily focused on IHAT that I haven't really shown off a lot of the characters from World Gates in a long time now. So I can only do so much. Should find a colorist. No, I'm fine doing it. It's just one of those things where it's just like, no. And to be honest, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm just being a whiny bitch. It's like one of those things where it's like, you know, the task isn't gonna take you a long time if you just, you know, if you just dive in and do it. But it's just like the pre-game that fucks with you. It's like, oh yeah, I need to fix this thing on my shed or something, and you're just like, I really don't want to, and then you're like, alright, I'll do it, and it really doesn't take you that long, depending on what the issue was. And honestly, I think it would be really hard for me to translate what I would want for a page. If I were to try to have somebody else work on it, it'd be really hard to tell them what I want. If anything, I would probably, well, no, because that would just defeat the point. I was gonna say probably like a line artist or something, and it's like, well, then that means I'm not drawing, so, or at least not doing a chunk of the drawing. But I'm fine. I'm just whining about it. That's all. But yeah, honestly, coloring is like the only thing that really takes a chunk of time aside from line art. Because I would say it's line art, then coloring, but after that, like the shading and effects and stuff like that don't take much time. Because I have that in I have that like in a process at that point. Or I have it like streamlined. Let's fix your legs. I'm very curious on how comic companies stay consistent with. Well, no, because would there only be one colorist? I guess it depends on the comic project. But then again, there's usually like 5 people working on one comic. And if we're talking about manga artists, there's at least like 5 people doing the pages. Because you have like the main artist, and then you have people that copy the art style. Yeah, like I know what you're talking about because of I'm aware of the process and stuff like that. It'll just feel weird for me, but who knows? Maybe if this ever takes off as a bigger thing. But for now, I'm fine coloring it myself. I'm just complaining about nothing really. Oh yeah, I need to show that her one of her back arms is still underneath her shirt. Arms are weird. do. Anatomy, how do you work? See, now it feels like I made it too long. Yeah, because rounds are way up there. Her knees are bent a bit. Yeah, I think I'm just trying to make up reasons. This should be fine. I'm only going to be annoyed a bit more if it was a closer shot. Let's make this a bit. Actually, she wouldn't just be standing up for that. She would have her hands up because she's excited. That reminds me, I do need Red to actually introduce herself to Joanne, because Joanne doesn't know her name. At least I don't think she does. Let me check. Pretty sure I didn't say her name. Yeah, she doesn't say her name to her yet. Take a shot every time you say why I wonder. Well, I mean, it's good to be curious, especially if it's with, you know, made up story, and then you get to talk to the artist and stuff, so you basically get to have a chance of having most of your questions answered. And that's when I realized I fucked up on page 14. Yay. The question is, do I go and fix that? I probably will, because it's a pretty decent inconsistency. So yeah, I will have to fix that. Yay. Can I fix that on stream? I want to say yes. I'll probably do that later. But yeah, I was looking at the page and I was like, something's wrong here. Okay, so that's her. I need to draw Bobby. It would be very movie-esque, the persona see and immediately introduce yourself. Yeah, she'll eventually do that. She'll be she'll eventually, like, once the situation's calmed down, she'll be like, so you are, and then she'll be like, oh yeah, forgot, didn't tell you where I was or something. She didn't say that right now because she's worried about, like, okay, we have somebody. She, like, you gotta think about it from Joanne's perspective. Like, she woke up, someone's in her stomach. She's freaking the fuck out, and then suddenly someone's banging on the door. So she's thinking she's gonna get, like, in serious trouble, whatever. But then the person tells her the fucking burp, and she's like, "What?" And then Red comes in and tells her, you know, if you're gonna do this shit, then let's get it done. And then Joanne's like, "What the fuck is happening?" And she's all, shouldn't we get the guy out? But yeah, she'll eventually tell Joanne who she is. Okay, let's do Andy first because his height with her is pretty. Basic. Because Andy and Bobby are relatively the same size, or same height. Not including his ears. Or either of their ears. Would be funny. They'd be like, "All right, chat, should there be a threesome or not?" And then, I don't know, put it up to a vote, or put it on, like, the spinning wheel. But nah, I don't want that. I already have an interesting scenario planned. But I did consider that. But yeah, the next page for Black Circus will be pretty fun. And yes, there will be a reason why Tim wasn't caught sooner on the cameras, because obviously he's appearing in the room that Joanne is in, so you'd think somebody would have spotted him and did something about that. But there is a couple of reasons for that I will get into. That's like one of the things you gotta think about when you're making a story. You gotta take the environment as well as other wandering characters into account. You can't just... Well, you can ignore a lot of situations if you want, but people are gonna ask about it if they are paying attention. Andy, where are your thighs? Thank you. That reminds me, I need to draw profile art for Andy and Emerald. Bobby got his before they did. One quick bat in. You need to burp right fucking now. What? What do you mean, room? I know, that's basically the situation. Because Joanne has not eaten anything bigger than like maybe a mouse, and that's assuming she even eats mice at all. QTE tap A to burp. Nah, you gotta repeatedly press it to help her build up the gas, and then she lets it out. But yeah, because Joanne is not used to doing that, that's definitely why Red is like, you need, like, alright, you need to do this shit before your stomach ruptures. Joanne does have the benefit of being a snake, so it's a little less likely for that to happen. But Red doesn't want to take that chance because Joanne is on the small side for a snake. Especially for a Ferroking snake. I know, right? Yeah, looking up references on how to make that work helped out a lot to make sure I was doing it right. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. What was her name again? Not Viper, what was her? She has a specific name. White Viper, man. Because that's gonna get to me now. I just want to know her name, that's it. Is it seriously Viper? That can't be right. No, I'm pretty sure she has a name. Is it really just Viper? I could have sworn she had like an actual name. No, because she's the white one. Where is the white one? I guess that is her name. Huh. Could have sworn the white one in particular had an actual name. Yeah, like I'm fine with the name. I just thought that she had like an actual name. Would it be a spoiler to ask how Emerald reacts to and feels about the pervy guy stuff? And you'll see it. You'll see it soon in the coming pages of how she reacts. Plus, you know, they're gonna be snacking and drinking and getting high, so Emerald is likely to join in on that aspect. So it'll be interesting to see. Did I say Joanne? I think I meant Emerald. It will be interesting to see Emerald partake in alcohol and weed. Yeah, she's hanging out with the bros and they're having bro time, so gonna give her snacks and alcohol and weed. So that's gonna be a fun time. Especially once she starts watching them play their game. Gets a bod like her hubby. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, like the scenario I have planned will be interesting. I'm debating on if I want them to be conscious of when they get to the scene that they want to get to for their game, or if they're just going to be like too drunk and high to really think about what they're getting into or about what they're doing, and all they know is like, yo, this is the scene, and then they click A or whatever it is to pick the scene, and then maybe Andy kind of slightly sobers up a moment thinking like, oh shit, I wasn't thinking because Emerald's here. Like, he could have just picked the route that doesn't take them to the scene that they're looking for, but he does it without thinking. But it will be interesting to see what happens. I'm also interested in the octopus one, because what I have planned for that scenario will also be fun. Slim down his legs a little bit. Try not to do too much detail, but I do need to do enough. Andy and his man boobs. His moobs. I know, right? Everyone's going like, oh, so this is what Andy's into. Okay. And this is when Bobby notices the box. Yeah, I want there to be some humor in this, because like Andy and Emerald's story is pretty basic for the most part. There's only like a few events that make things a little interesting, but for the most part, it's pretty basic. So the chapters won't be as long. They'll just be as long as they need to be. Because I'm trying not to like put in any unnecessary fluff, but I do want to have some of the ideas that I did plan for it to happen. Such as, you know, Andy getting emerald clothing because she doesn't have any clothes. And I'm debating on whether I'll have Andy try to go buy them himself, or if his manager from work helps him out. Which is like, oh yeah, I got these old clothes you can have. But like Emerald would still need like a bra, and so he has to go bra shopping with her. And he's just like embarrassed because he has to go into the women's clothing store. And I could see that scenario being funny, like Emerald getting her measurements, and then like whoever's working at the store could be like, oh yeah, your boyfriend can come, and so he's just watching the employee just, you know, measure Emerald's tits in front of Andy, and Andy is just standing there going like, Jesus, this is hot. And then they just look around for different outfits, and Emerald's like getting the risque ones. It's kind of like Chobits, but just more mature, more adult. Plus, Emerald wants that D. She's like, bitch, give it to me. I'm just gonna treat this panel as more of a realization panel, because I don't want to draw the table of all their shit and all that. I will draw Bobby's bag on the floor though, since it was slipping off of him earlier. Your figure is interesting, Bobby. I remember one person asking like, wait, if Bobby's naked, where's his dick? And I was like, well, he's kind of a reptile type character, so currently it's inside of him. If you'd really like to know. A luxury not every naked character gets to have. Assuming you even call it a luxury. That's a question to ask Bobby. It's like, yo, where's your dick? And he's just like, right in here. Bobby's a fun character though, because he gets it on with his dealer, or the person he buys his weed from. his giant thighs. His fucking dinosaur thighs. I could see like Andy's manager tossing in some like risque clothing for Emerald, and like just her whispering to Emerald, like, "Oh, I throw in something fun for you and Andy," and it's just like revealing lingerie. And Andy freaking out, going like, "Why would she give you that?" Like, I could see Emerald putting it on, and then he freaks out, and then she's like, "Would you like me to take it off?" And he'd be like, slowly. Because there's like no real right answer to that. Other than her taking it off elsewhere. Good. Just have to draw his bag on the floor. I think I should just keep it simple. And we'll probably have Andy talking to Emerald a bit. So yeah, so those two are talking while Bobby is glancing over, noticing the box. You know, like, yo, what's with this? And Emerald, being the smart girl that she is, will just tell them, like, oh, me and Andy were having a little fun, as she points to her collar as well to help eliminate that question too. I need to remember, was this open when he woke up? Yes, it was open. So I gotta address that. Okay, so since it was open... Wait. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was looking at that frame. So... First, gotta erase this. Because that's the lid. Technically, the lid is on this side as well. So... yeah, the lid was on the side of this crate. You know, I could just say Andy put it back on top of the box while he waited for Emerald to get out of the shower. That way I don't have to go through all that. I just have to draw the butts. Actually, let's do it this way, and I'll tweak it. Perspective sucks. Yeah, close enough. we go. Might move the box over and have like a reaction shot of Andy's face. And he's like, shit, I forgot about the box. So yeah, if I'm gonna do that, I just need to move this over. There we go. Yeah, over here would be in this place. Yeah, you'll see them playing a visual novel, and it's gonna get to the scenario that they wanted to get to before Emerald became was a thing. That's why they were panicking for a moment, going like, "Yo, this is an H game," which was funny because a few people were asking me what's an H game, so that was a little humorous to answer. And you're definitely gonna see what they wanted to see in the visual novel. Which for me will be the fun part, because I don't think many people do the thing that I have planned. Yeah, like the game obviously has like branching paths where it has like the super cutesy stuff, and then it has like the O moments. Because I want to show Andy get to the part where the character asks a certain question, and he's sitting there for a moment. Like either I want him to sit there and think about pressing the button to get to the scene that they wanted to get to, or he just presses it without thinking. because like him and Bobby have been, you know, Bobby and Emerald have all been having like a whole good time just hanging out, and they're playing through the game, and right when they get to the part, you know, have Bobby be like, yo, we're at the scene, and they already know what question they have to answer correctly to get to the part that they want, and then like Andy presses it without thinking about it, and then once the scene starts happening, that's when both Bobby and Andy come to the realization, it's like, oh, we're at the scene that we wanted to get to, but Emerald's also here. So it's making them a bit panicky on how they go about this, because the idea is that before Emerald, it was just Andy and Bobby basically having a bro time, just hanging out, playing games, and, you know, jerk off to porn. So now that Emerald's here, that might be a little awkward. But luckily, Emerald is the best wife, and she will assess the scenario as she would. But I definitely want to show what it is that they're trying to get to in their game. Yeah, they do. That's how tight they are. It's like, bro, it's not gay. Or whatever dialogue they might have. But yeah, just two dudes hanging out, literally. But Emerald will take matters into her own hands. Plus, she's at this point high and drunk too, so that will be a bit of motivation on her end as well. If you can't jerk off next to your bros, then how can you be actual bros? I'm sure someone said that at some point. It's almost like that one Rick and Morty episode. It's like, we can't jerk off our enemies, and how are we better than them? It's more like that's a thing they've been doing, and now that there's a woman in the room, it's like it's bad enough we're playing on hentai. Now we're, you know, getting hard in front of this woman, and she's just kind of chilling there, seeing them both. Well, in Bobby's case, Bobby will have to like cover up with like a blanket or something, but in Andy's case, he's obviously pitching a tent, which Emerald will obviously notice, because she's been wanting to hit that since she got there. It's like, I could totally see Bobby just being like, bro, it's not gay. It's like one of those borderline situations where it's like, is this gay? And it's like, maybe. and you'll clearly have people in denial on whether or not it is, which will be fun. If that becomes a discussion amongst the comments once that page comes out publicly, that'll be a fun time. I will look forward to that if it happens. But currently my thoughts are on the octopus woman, because that's the scene that I want to get to. And random lines, yeah. Thank God I know better coloring techniques nowadays, or else that would be a pain in the ass. Darken some of these a bit. Do let's get some more music. Sure, let's give these a shot. Yeah, I know some of those perspectives are a little wonky, but okay, are there any frames of Andy I can recycle? Probably recycle this. Okay, there's nothing showing other than butt, so this should be alright. Worst case scenario, I just blink the screen, but this should be fine. Yeah, because obviously her crate didn't disappear. It's like, yo, what's with the box? And then this also gives Emerald a chance to explain why she's wearing a collar. So that way she can nip two questions at the same time. She actually didn't come in the crate originally. They just put that in there and had her lay down. And then once Andy came out of the hypnotism, he read what was in there, the little note to wake her up. So yeah, she didn't actually come in the crate. They just had her walk in and they just put it in there. But normally, yes, air holes would be rather useful. Oh yeah, this sounds like a Sonic CD. Might lower the volume for this just a bit, since this has words. Not sure if that's low enough, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, Emerald's being smart. Because it'd be really messed up if she was programmed to eliminate people who figure out where she's from or something like that. Don't really need her attempting to kill Bobby. That would suck. Yeah, exactly. She's like, look, we can get rid of this fucking bullshit crate, as well as our non-important slave girl. Might as well get rid of some trash, right? And it's not like Andy's rich, so she took however much money she took from him. She probably saw his bank account and was like, oh my god, this guy's pitiful. And she's just like, whatever, I'll take this much. Like, if I ever do like more backstory of how this came to be, she'd be like, how much money, or she's like, how much do you make from your job? And he tells her a number, and she's like, Jesus Christ. And so she just leaves him enough for rent. I'll turn this back up until I hear words. Oh, sounds like this one's based off of the movie a bit. Reminds me of Sonic 3D. Although it could be off. Oh yeah, that's definitely a CD. There we go. Can't wait for Superstars to come out. That's gonna be a fun time. Can always say that the crate was originally like, I don't know, full of dresses or something that Madame Blanc had. And just gave her a reason to get rid of it. Did I hear that right? Wanna bang your boss. Huh. I like how it's swapping from different times. Music's fucking awesome though. He doesn't need to be blushing. Sonic always has fucking great music, with few exceptions. I like that Mania was treated as if it was like a continuation of CD in a way, or like a Sega Saturn game. I know, right? Game music is always fun, especially if you're playing like cartoony video game music. They always have like songs that just, you know, amp you up in some way. Or if you play games that are like, you know, hack and slash like Devil May Cry, those songs are good too. This is the Sonic Boom song remix. Oh yeah, definitely. It's like when I think of times like that, I think of like, you know, Saturn, Dreamcast, and even like the Genesis days. Those type of feeling. Turn this down a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely the feeling of the times. '90s was a very interesting time for a lot of things. I gotta remind me to fix that. But yeah, I mostly just turned down the music so that way you weren't hearing me and the singer talk over each other too hard. Gonna stop in about 20 minutes. I will say though, even though this remix isn't bad, I don't think they can beat the original song, because that song hits hard. That song is a fucking treasure. But that's okay. I'm glad that they put in the effort. And their song is good. Let's put her a little lower, just so it doesn't look like she's poking her eye. Is this based off of the Game Gear games? Nope, still CD. Oh yeah, I can hear it now. CD had a lot of good songs. CD was good, Dreamcast was good, Saturn had good shit. Although Saturn didn't technically have a Sonic game. It did have Knights. And Knights had some good music too. Like, your girl might be a vampire, bro. Your dude, she might be a vampire. Debating on if Bobby will question if Emerald is like a bit freaky in terms of like because she's a mantis. Assuming he figures out she's a mantis, because it's kind of hard to tell without her blades out. But that might be being a bit too racist on that, so he likely wouldn't bring it up in that fashion. Or he could just be like, you know, it's like, yo, she's a mantis, right? So does she bite? Or something like that. Like, not, obviously she's not, she wouldn't, like, kill him, but it would be more like, does she get a bit rough? Because that could be like a stereotype where people assume that because she's a mantis that she might bite his head off. And let's fix this finger. I'll fix that too. Yeah, because, like, obviously that's not a thing people would do in society unless they were, like, coming from a tribal mentality or something. Or just, you know, some people making a bad name for other people of their species and all that. So it's like oh, they're mantises, so they're probably gonna kill us after they fuck us, type of thing. And you're like, no, that's just a fucking stereotype, or certain people have done that, but they were like, you know, crazy people or something. Or it's like a tribal thing where it's like, you know, if you go into like different countries or something and you come across a tribe of mantis women, then yeah, that's a pretty decent chance that that might happen. But no, under normal circumstances that would be a thing. But I can totally see Bobby mistaking Emerald as a cricket. And then she clarifies that she's a mantis, and that's when Bobby will probably ask Andy if she bites or something. Or if she's rough. It's like, yo, I heard about mantis women. What would the stereotype for humans be? Well, since they're referred to as havens in this world, probably that they jump to conclusions about species too often, or that they I don't know. Kind of depends, because a lot of the personalities for a lot of the characters are pretty similar to humans. So humans will probably just be seen as, like, you know, limited by their physicality, based aside from like how, or not aside, but compared to bestial. So it's like, oh, you have the big wolf man, and here's like a human male, and it's like, there's a clear difference between physical strength. So humans might be just seen as a little weaker, I guess, if I had to choose right for now, because it's kind of hard to like decide on a stereotype for humans in particular, unless you guys can think of something better for me to capitalize on. Because a lot of that can be applied to the other species. I just realized I can turn this back up. Like, I think the best way to do it for humans would just be the bestials comparing themselves to humans, where it's like, oh, I hear humans do this, or oh, did you know that the like let's just say the cow bestials are talking about human women, and to be like, oh, I hear the human women don't lactate all year round or something. They're like, oh my god, how do their children eat or something? You know, it could be that kind of bullshit stereotyping. But other than stuff like that, there really isn't much to grasp on them. Unless they base some of their opinions off of like old films that they found, where it's like, oh my god, humans always just jump into the bad situations without thinking or something. Like, I could totally see them getting pissed off if they ever watched the movie, what was it? Was it Silence or something like that? Or Quiet? Was it A Quiet Place? Yeah. The first movie made no goddamn sense in terms of, like, the logic of the characters. least I think that was the movie I'm thinking of. Yeah, it is. Because it's like, hey, we found a place where we can fucking talk and not get killed by creatures. And then they don't stay in that area. They instead go elsewhere. And then the scenarios that happen in that situation don't make any goddamn sense. Because it's like, okay, you can't speak or else you get killed by the creatures. Hey, here's a pregnant woman who has to go into labor and she's screaming like Bloody Mary. And I'm like, okay, she's totally dead, right? Nope. Somehow not dead. And she manages to, because she gives birth in the bathtub, and then manages to run and leave with her newborn child. And there's like a shit ton of blood. And I'm just sitting there going like, I don't know how you fucking survived this, but this is bullshit. It's like, other people have been killed for much less. And she just gets a get out of jail free card for that scenario. I was like, that is bullshit. She should not have lived that. Did I want her to die instead? I mean, if it made sense for the world that they're living in, yeah. That would have made way more sense. Because, like, it's creatures that operate based on sound, and they pretty much come from you practically immediately once you let out enough noise. And the creatures, like, show up to this house, and clearly they're attacking based on sound. And she is screaming bloody murder. Like, she has zero protection. Like, her husband and other characters are not around her as this is happening. And she's in a bathtub in, like, I don't even know if it was, like, a basement or something. I can't remember. But, like, she had no protection, screaming bloody murder as she's giving birth. And you have the baby as well, crying. And I'm sitting there going, like, how did she survive this? She had no protection. She had the creatures running around, like, in her facility, and still survived. And she, like, managed to, like, this is, and as soon as she gave childbirth, she got up and carried the baby and ran. And I'm like, how? How did you manage all of this? And again, other characters were killed for less. Like, very beginning of the movie, a kid dies because he was playing with a toy robot, and his toy robot started making sounds, and he just gets picked off like immediately. I'm just saying, stay consistent. Because, like, they do find, like, again, they do find an area where they can speak freely and make a bunch of noise, and they wouldn't be killed because it was by a waterfall, and the waterfall is constantly making loud noise. And so the creatures wouldn't go by that area because they already know there's nothing there. So it was the perfect place for her to have a child, and for some reason they don't stay. They just leave. Like, I only saw the movie once, but that movie just made me pissed at the logic of it. That's a little too big. I do love the ongoing debate in Sonic games, or Sonic fandom, where it's like, is it Hydro City or Hydrocity? So that will be the forever question. And it's funny that Sonic and Tails make that argument in the comics. Right? As a child, I read that as Hydro City, but then as I got older, I was like, wait. As you take a double take at that, you're like, wait a minute. But it's always fun to like talk about that level, and you just bring up both. You like bring it up as both names mid conversation. It's like, oh yeah, Hydro City is my favorite level. I love it when Hydrocity does this, and you're like, wait. It's like, you can't do that. That's cheating. And like, nah, that's the name of the level. I'm very curious on what the DLC for Sonic Frontiers will be. Or, I know what it is, but I mean, like, I'm curious on how they go about it. And I'm glad that they said that they're definitely learning from this experience with Frontiers, because they've definitely learned a lot of what to do and what not to do, and how to fix certain things, and the stuff that fans want that they've been putting in. And you know, Sonic characters given a chance to grow as characters. So hopefully they stick with it whenever they make their next game. because I think there was like the director said that he was already making plans for whenever they do their next game, they're gonna take a lot of what they learned from Frontiers. Because he said there was some stuff that they couldn't put into, that they can't put into Frontiers as it is, but they're definitely gonna make those changes when the next game shows up. And I hope they make a more visual novel stuff, because the Who Killed Sonic the Hedgehog was definitely a fun time. Yeah, like the visual novel is definitely a good way to get more characters shown and expose fans, or like people who aren't as in depth with Sonic as the Sonic fans are with, you know, the comics and stuff like that. It's a good way to introduce those characters without having to make like a giant game around them. And then once they get people used to those characters, they can, like, you know, have them appear in the major games more often. So it's like, oh, here's Bunny Rabbit. She showed up in the visual novel. And then she later on shows up in the main game, and you already know who she is because you played the visual novel. So yeah, like that's definitely a good way to capitalize on the giant roster of characters that they have. So hopefully either someone tells them that, or they, you know, eventually come to that conclusion on their own. Which honestly, I think people have to straight up tell them to do that. So hopefully that's the case. If no one has, definitely bring it up at some point. Be like, hey, can the visual novels show off characters from the comics? Because they're fully aware that everybody loves those characters. It's just a matter of getting them to use those characters. That's the challenge. But they are definitely aware. I just want to get her hair drawn before I stop. And then when I finish this page, I'll make that fix for one of the older pages, and I'll let people know what it was, or that it's been updated. Let's make her hair a little bit more out. But yeah, music like this reminds me of times like, you know, like Ocarina of Time and all that. It's like that kind of era of gaming. Yeah, it was page 14. It's like a very small error that you probably wouldn't notice unless I told you what it was. Like, I could probably not touch it, and no, like, it'd probably be a long time before anybody even brought it up. And that's assuming they're even paying attention anyway. Like currently, I'm the only person who's going to be bugging because I know it's there. Nope. If it was Bobby's spots, I wouldn't care. Because even though I try to be consistent with his spots, that's like minor enough for me to not care. It's just slightly more noticeable than that. But it's not noticeable unless I were to tell you what the problem was. Or if you're just paying attention enough. But again, it's like a very minor detail. Yeah, when it comes to something like spots, I'm like less worried about that because stuff like that is a pain in the ass to begin with. So like characters that have like varied spots, like unless the spots are like in a very organized state, for the most part I don't care. But if they're like stylized enough where it's like, okay, these are the positions of their patterns, and it's like enough to notice, then yeah, then I'll stay consistent with that, or at least try. But the detail I'm thinking about that's on that page is like minor, but enough for me to notice now, at least. Because I guess I didn't notice when I was working on it because I must have gotten distracted or something. Because that tends to happen if I'm like in the middle of something, but then I like stop for whatever reason. I might lose track of what I was gonna do. But I noticed it now, and I'm just like, fuck, I gotta fix that. But again, it's probably not even like I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill here. Most likely. But that's just me. Like, I make tons of fixes and stuff that people don't notice. That's why sometimes I'll say you might want to re-download certain, or like some pages or whatever, because I might have fixed something. But like, if it's not enough for me to even tell you what it was, then it's like whatever. I can tell you what panel it's in. If you want. Just so you can see what the problem is. What's the error? Whatchamacallit? The sleeve that's supposed to be on Emerald's left arm is not on her arm. The sleeve is missing. Yeah, it's in the third panel. Yeah, see, it's like such a minor detail, but because I was drawing her arm in over here, because I was drawing her arm over there and I was looking at the panel to do her backside, I noticed that her sleeve wasn't there, and I was like, ah, shit, I gotta fix that. And see, like, it's super minor because you're not paying attention to that kind of detail. And the only reason why you would even think to look at it is if you're like just being like super focused on the pages, unlike the artwork itself, and then you'd probably notice. So yeah, it's so fucking minor, but it's just one of those details that'll bug me. So yeah, again, not that big of a deal, but for me, it's just bugging me enough to want to fix it. I'm subscribing as we speak. I'm sorry I failed you. Actually, this is a little too far now compared to where it should be. I failed you. I'm a garbage artist. I mean, I am still garbage, so I'm trying to get better. Doing what I can to improve when I have the chance to study up on stuff. Okay, so she's pretty much done for this panel. I need to draw Bobby looking at her as she plays around.
Been working at this lame factory the past 3 years.
I feel you.
And we can close that. But we actually can just turn this down and let it play. But yeah, done for now. Gonna take a break and then continue working on this. I want to have this done by tomorrow, maybe tonight if I can. But yeah, I'll have this up and then I'll work on Black Circus next afterwards. And then after that will be another IHAT page and another Black Circus. And then next week I want to try to experiment with things. I want to try to stream on YouTube if I can. And then I also want to work on the Patreon stuff. And then if I can, work on another secrets page and move on, so on and so forth. So I just want to try to get as much as I can done next week. And I'm going to try to go hard on schedule so that way I stay on task and keep stuff going. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. I will stream again tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, just keep on doing what I'm doing. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good night / morning. Excuse me, / afternoon. Oh, excuse me. And I will see you guys later. Take care.